All right, welcome back. So this is week 2 of our scatter plots. Last week we covered a lot of information, so hopefully you can construct a scatter plot, and then you can look at the patterns, see if it's positive, negative, no association, is it linear or nonlinear, is it a strong or a weak association. So we covered all that last week. This week we're going to cover trend lines. So remember, guys, that you can find extra examples, extra videos in your textbook. So if you go to pearsonrealize.com, that is your textbook. There are videos, there are examples in there, and then you can also find like a paper copy of your textbook in the Realize Reader app. So if you are looking for some extra help, go to 4-3 in your textbook, okay? When scatter plots demonstrate a linear relationship, so we only do this with linear, not nonlinear. A straight line, linear means straight, so a straight line can be used to show the general pattern of what's happening. We call this a trend line or line of best fit. I will use those words interchangeably. So a trend line or a line of best fit is a straight line that should lie as close as possible to all of the data points in the scatter plot. Okay, so to save some time, I already wrote out the explanation point for these examples. So in this first example, would this be a good trend line? Well, I put here the scatter plot is showing that the pattern overall is positive, but the trend line is negative. So no, this is not a good representation for our trend line. Okay, here the trend line shows the pattern, and it lies close to the data points with about half the points on one side, half the points on the other. This is a great trend line. Okay, here we have a trend line. It's showing the correct pattern, but I put down my explanation. The trend line is above most of the points. Most of the data points are below that line. So this is not a good trend line or line of best fit. Same thing, the opposite here then, the line is below most of the points. So this isn't good either. For those two trend lines, you want them to be more close to the points and more in the middle of them. All right. Now, all of us, if we're actually drawing these in person, all of us can draw a little different trend lines. So there's not one perfect answer for line of best fits. Okay, now we're going to actually write the equations. So down here we have the line of best fit drawn, but now we're going to write our y equals mx plus b format. Okay, so the first step, we got 3 steps here. If you forget, come back to these notes. Choose any 2 points on the trend line. Okay, do not choose the points in the scatter plot. Instead, you want to choose points on that trend line. Okay, we know how to find slope. That is rise over run. Or if you truly wanted to, you could use our slope formula. It's going to take a little more work. Subtract your y's on top, subtract your x's on bottom. The way I'm going to be showing you is just simply from the graph, the rise over run. Okay. Then what you're going to do is find the y-intercept. So where does the line cross the y-axis? And you're going to take those 2 variables and substitute them into our slope-intercept form equation. So y equals mx plus b. So there's 2 things we're looking for, and then we can write our equation. Okay. So first step, let's find our slope. So slope, there we go. Slope equals rise over run. Okay, so choose 2 points. I'm going to go down, make sure you travel down this line. Okay, do not choose the points. So here's a point, and you want them to cross over the perfect grid lines, or the intersection of the grid lines. So you can choose 2 of any of those points, okay, and do your rise over run. So rise is how far do you have to go up or down. In this case, we're going down, so the rise is -1. The run, 1, 2, 3. So slope is -1/3. And we can do it on any of these points. Down 1, forward 3. Down 1, forward 3. So there's our slope. Okay, then our y-intercept, remember, this is our y-axis. So where does the line cross the y-axis? So this point right here, that is our b or y-intercept. Okay, so that is 8. So all we have to do now, we have y equals mx plus b, and we just want to substitute our slope, which was negative 1/3 with m, and our b, which was 8, right here. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 8 is our equation. Okay, don't forget, if the y-intercept is negative, it would be minus. Okay, in this case, it is above 0, so it's 8, positive 8. Okay, let's do a couple more examples. Do the exact same process. So step 1, travel on that line. So again, we have a point on our y-axis. Keep traveling. Any of these points will work to find our slope. Okay, now keep in mind, notice the last example, the x-axis, the y-axis, they all went by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one doesn't. Okay, so we have to make sure when we do our rise over run, we're taking that into consideration. Okay, so if we rise, now in this case, we're rising up, but we're not just going up 1. We're going from 100 to right in the middle of 100 and 150. So we're rising up 25, not just 1. Okay, now we're running forward. Now the x-axis, they are going by ones. So we run forward 2. So 25 over 2. We're going to divide those. Fraction bar means divide. So half of 25 is 12.5. You could keep it as a fraction if you want. Sorry, that is not a good 12. There we go. All right, so there's our slope. Our y-intercept, where does the line cross the y-axis? Crosses right at 100. Okay, so again, same process, y equals mx plus b. You're just substituting two things, slope and then your y-intercept. So our equation, y equals 12.5x plus 100. All right. And last question, one more slope, rise over run. I'm traveling down my graph. I can use this point, this point, this point. Okay. Rise, in this case, we're going to go down. Notice our pattern, our trend line is negative. It's going downhill. So we're going down 1, 2. But again, pay attention to the intervals. We're going from 45 to 35. So our rise is negative 10. All right, our run, we go forward. The x-axis is going by 1. So negative 10 over 1, or negative 10 divided by 1 is negative 10. So there's our slope. Again, we can do that over and over in our graph. Negative 10, forward 1, down 10, forward 1. Okay, our y-intercept, where does the line cross the y-axis? So right in the middle of 40 and 50. So our b value is 45. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. Substitute our slope, substitute our y-intercept. So y equals negative 10x plus 45. And there are our equations. Okay, now we could use these equations. Let's say this is has a story problem to it. These are x values, so we could, if we wanted to estimate, we could take an x value and we could substitute it into this equation and answer what the y value would be. Negative 10 times x plus 45. That would give us our y. And that's the whole reason we're writing these equations. So then we can use them and apply them to whatever the scatter plot is talking about. Okay? So that is all for today's lesson. Hopefully that made some sense. I just wrote on first periods Shobi notes. So first period, your notes are already done for you. Each week I'll switch because I have 4 classes of pre-algebra. So next week, third period, you'll get your notes done. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.